And obviously, cordless miter saws are not new. There's some that have been around for a little while, but pretty much what you saw were smaller blades, 7.5 inch, 7.25 inch. Some tools that even required you to use multiple packs to get the type of performance that people wanted to see even out of a smaller miter saw. When we look at a category and we start looking at fuel, and you may have heard this from Paul, we start looking at how are we going to take an AC dominated market or a tool that's traditionally AC and give that kind of performance to that end user in a DC or battery only powered option. And honestly, fuel, M18 batteries are new 9 amp hour high demand packs in the electronics package that we've developed for these tools really make something that's extremely powerful and extremely impressive in terms of performance, all on one M18 pack. But really, what did we go out and find, right? So with all of our products, right, we do a lot of user research, and we found out that if you're going to convert an AC user, an AC miter saw user, to something that's cordless and tell them this can replace the unit you're using today, there are certain things they're not willing to budge on. The first thing that we heard about was capacity. I like to cut my base standing up against the fence. I like to cut my crown molding nested. When I'm doing headers, I need to be able to cut a 2x12 to make this thing replace my corded saw. So we were very in tune to those capacities and tried to deliver some pretty impressive stuff here. In terms of vertical capacity, we can cut a maximum of 6-inch base up against the fence. What I have here is actually this front board is actually a cordless competitor. Their max vertical capacity. This darker gray board is actually a leading AC saw, and then this red board is actually ours. So you can see quite a bit of difference in terms of the capacity that we can provide. We also can cut a 2x12, laying down flat at 90. So again, huge benefit there and really hitting home on a lot of those core applications. Second is just pure performance. Most miter saws, 15 amp, very powerful motors. When you're talking about cutting pressure treated 4x4s, 2x10s, 2x12s, even some things like oak stair tread, you need a lot of power and performance from that tool. So we have 4,000 RPMs, so when we're talking about cutting lighter materials like trim and molding, we can give you a very fast, clean cut, which is important to users. If you're cutting more dense, heavier materials, we're going to be able to power through those without bogging down very much at all. You'll see this when you get to use the tool. There's a ton of power behind this, and that's really coming from that battery technology and that power state brushless motor. Runtime is also a very big concern. Again, if we're going to keep these guys productive, we've got to give them the ability to work on one pack, maybe a little bit more than one pack a day. So on our 9 amp hour high demand pack, we can get 400 cuts in 3.5 inch base. We can get upwards of 300 cuts in 2x4 and upwards of 150 cuts in 2x12. So really impressive numbers. Really giving guys the ability to try to go that whole distance of the day on one battery pack. So really important to keep them from having to run back to the charger multiple times. But we know that's not the end of the story, right? Why do people use miter saws? It's because of accuracy. You could use a circular saw to cut a lot of the things that we cut with a miter saw. It's just not going to be as accurate. When you're doing trim, you want tight miter joints, you want tight bevel cuts. So we put a lot of thought and effort into accuracy as well, and making sure that the function, usability, and features of this saw really delivered on accuracy as well. So things like a stainless steel adjustable miter detent plate that allows you to, even if your saw becomes uncalibrated, riding around in the back of your truck or gets dropped on a job site, you've got the ability to make it accurate again. The dual bevel system. So this is a dual bevel saw, and we know that beveling sometimes can be hard because of how you have to get back to the saw and actually adjust that bevel mechanism. So instead of having to reach all the way back behind the saw, try to twist the handle to get it to bevel, we've actually put the bevel adjustment right here on top. So there's a paddle. I'll turn this to the side so you guys can kind of see. And all you have to do is lift up on this paddle and it releases the saw to bevel either direction. If you let it go slightly, you'll hear there's a little click. Now you actually fall into the detents. So we have detents at all the common angles, 22.5, 45, obviously at 0. So you'll be able to get into those common angles very quickly, very easily without having to go through too much effort to get to that. We look at the miter system itself. We wanted to make sure that we had a quick, easy way to lock this tool in if you're outside of a detent. So we have the cam locking miter system. So instead of having to twist, push in and out, and kind of make all those different movements, this is just a quick push down, and you're locked in place. We also know that once in a while you want to be outside of detent, just slightly. And if your detents are good, sometimes your saw is going to want to get pulled back in and lock into that detent, right? So we've given you the ability to override with this little lever here. So now you're actually overriding all those detents, and you can lock your saw at whatever that uncommon angle is that you might be working at, and then it just unlocks as well. Two other features. So we put a chop stop feature in here, so we know sometimes you don't need a full slide. Sometimes all you need is a 10-inch chop saw. So by just adjusting this little lever here on the side of the saw, you can actually lock it back into a position that a 10-inch chop saw would operate at. And then a really, really nice feature that we've been able to add on here is the cut line, shadow line cut indicator. So instead of incorporating a laser that once in a while becomes misorientated to where the blade is actually at, we actually just cast a shadow down the blade, so it's a true representation of where that saw is going to cut. So quick, repeatable, accurate cuts is what we were going for. So that's accuracy. The last piece is portability. We know when cordless saws, or when you make a tool cordless, users want to be more portable. That's an inherent feature of cordless products. So we wanted to have our eyes set on that as well. So one thing that's really important about this saw is the weight. So a traditional corded 10-inch AC saw is in the 50 to 55 pound range most of the time. If you're looking at 12-inch saws, they're 55 to even 70 pounds depending on what you're looking at. This saw weighs in without a pack at about 45 pounds, about 47 with a pack. So nice, light, easy to pick up, 7, 10, 15 pounds lighter than a lot of the AC units that are out there. We've also put in the integrated handles, so when it goes to time to pick it up and actually move it, you've got places to put your hands, make sure that's an easy place to carry, as well as the traditional top handle that most miter saws have. So a ton of thought and effort's gone into this to make sure that guys are productive, again, accurate, can actually lose the cord and become much more portable on the job site. Be it upstairs, downstairs, if you're a framer and you're working off a generator, you can move that saw wherever you want on a job site, not have to worry about tethering a cord or pulling the generator along with you.